Burnout is a reality for people who are striving to do something like create community, to bridge gaps, to protest or demonstrate, to stand up to forces that are larger than they are. And one of the big reasons for that is that there's not like recognizable immediate payoff. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the Glow Up Revolution podcast. I'm your host, Megan Winkler, the sacral strategist, business witch, and all around spiritual guide, because that's just kind of where I am at this point. Today, I'm going to be talking about burnout, and especially in the context of activism burnout, and how we can take care of ourselves as we show up for ourselves and for others. So I'm recording this on Monday. It's coming out Monday afternoon, so a little bit later than I usually like to put it out there. And also, I just wanted to talk to you about things that were happening like in the moment, things that are happening today, that happened this weekend. So I'm really glad that the timing is what it is. So this past weekend, I was at the No Kings March, and one of the many places throughout Texas to have one. And I was actually on the safety team. And so I remained in one quadrant of the kind of setup, the planned protest area. And I got to talk to a lot of people, and I got to see a lot of people. I wasn't holding a sign. I was wearing a safety vest so people could find me. Folks were really great about letting us know if somebody was a little combative or was trying to agitate the crowd. And we did have a couple of those people. But what was so great is that there was this sense of community coming together. And so if you did not participate or were unable to, I want you to know that there's a lot of folks out there who are standing up against what our federal government and even our state governments are trying to do. We've got a lot of bullshit right now. And I'm laughing because anytime I say bullshit now, I think of the show Resident Alien with Alan Tudyk. And if you haven't seen it, you totally should add it to your to-watch list. We've watched the first two seasons. They were on Netflix. But one of the big things he says is, "This is some bullshit." And he says it like that. And so anytime I say bullshit or hear it, I think of Harry the Alien. So definitely check that out, because we need laughs today, right? We need laughs. We need joy. We need optimism. And that was what was so cool about Saturday, is that there was so much joy and optimism, that we know that we're facing authoritarian movements and an authoritarian government, and we are still standing up. And so there was inflatable costumes at our protest. We had dinosaurs. We had the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, who had a sign that said, "No kings, no dictators, only Zool," which I thought was really creative. We had a guy dressed up as a taco. We had a bull. We had an elephant, a shark. We had folks come out like riding cows, where like the bottom part of the or your costume is like your legs, right? So it's like the back legs of the cow are your legs, and then it's like the front legs are here, and you're like kind of riding it, that sort of thing. I also saw like in some other places like the whole like alien abduction, or like an axolotl, or all of these fun things that we have to shout out Portland for bringing into the protest space, which was really cool. But anyways, let's talk a little bit about burnout among activism and among activists, because you, my friend, if you showed up to No Kings on Saturday, you are an activist. You are. If you are participating in any sort of boycott of particular brands, you are an activist. If you are showing up and creating community with folks and a safe space for them to be themselves, and it doesn't even have to be political, you're an activist. So welcome. Burnout is a reality for people who are striving to do something like create community, to bridge gaps, to protest or demonstrate, to stand up to forces that are larger than they are. And one of the big reasons for that is that there's not like recognizable immediate payoff. Like one of the things that you can do to combat burnout in your day-to-day life is to create a to-do list. And like you mark things off of your to-do list throughout the day. That's an immediate payoff. Like you can see it got done. You get the dopamine hit of checking it off your to-do list. And you can move on with your day, right? So it kind of reinforces that. The problem with being in an activist mindset is that you participate in some sort of activism, community building, etc., and you may not see the payoff. You may also be putting in a lot of your time and your energy and your effort, and it might feel like it's going nowhere, or it might be that you can feel it going somewhere, but it like takes a long time. So this is actually very similar to that honeymoon phase of burnout, where like if you get a new job or if you move to a new place or whatever, like you put a lot of energy and effort into something because you're excited about it, right? So a lot of times activists get really excited about the work that they're doing. And I'm speaking from personal experience, and you dive in and you want to do all the things and you overcommit and you say, yes, I'm going to be at all of these events, yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. The problem with that is that if you're not taking care of yourself, you will burn out. I don't know if you know this or not, but the concept of self-care actually comes from the civil rights movement and actually comes from Black women. Audre Lorde is a big person in that space. And actually, she came up with the concept of self-care in the context of the civil rights movement. Self-care is not what white women have appropriated it into being. Like, it is not taking bubble baths and mani-pedis and all that. I mean, sure, that's like part of self-care, but self-care and the idea of making sure you're caring for yourself came from a need for activists to take care of themselves, to remain healthy, to remain as safe as possible. Okay, so when we talk about self-care, next time you hear somebody talking about self-care, I want you to think about the civil rights movement in the 1960s in the United States. Think about those activists and bring that forward to today, because people doing similar work need that as well. And of course, obviously, like just existing in 2025, you need self-care. Absolutely, 100%. And you need to be taking care of yourself, filling your cup, and doing things that bring you joy. Because one of the big things with an authoritarian government is to make you feel isolated and like you have no hope. It's there to keep you feeling pessimistic and fearful and not standing up for yourself and not being your true and authentic self. This is just a really interesting, maybe crossroads that I'm personally at this week. I'm talking about this right now on the podcast. I have just spent the past hour or so working on my Black Moon in Lilith, or Black Moon Lilith activation workshop that's coming up this Sunday. There is still time to join that if you want to. But our Black Moon Lilith placement in our astrology chart, our astrological chart, is the shadow side, is the side that is repressed, is the side that's uncomfortable for society. It's the part that is outcast in these communities of supremacy. And so this is just like a hot topic issue for me, especially today. We have to take care of ourselves. We have to root down into who we are authentically and be unafraid to share that. So what does burnout prevention or support look like for someone in the activist space? Quite honestly, it looks like it does for a lot of us. The big difference here is, like I was saying, the lack or delay of payoff. right? We can pour our heart and soul into a project at work or in our business or, something happening with our families, and we see the payoff. A lot of activism is kind of just adding our voice and adding our body or adding ourselves to a larger group of people to affect change. So look at what is working. When you are feeling discouraged, when you need that moment of self-care, when you need to come back to yourself, look at what is working in the world. Recently, there was a huge backlash and boycott of Disney because Disney pulled Jimmy Kimmel off the air. Within 5 days, 3 business days, Jimmy Kimmel was back on the air. Okay, that works. Target is still trying to figure out how to bring business back to their stores because we discovered that their DEI initiatives were phony and decided we can spend our money elsewhere, right? The thing is you don't have to be perfect in your activism. You don't have to be perfect in your goals. It is small steps that add up to larger successes. So seriously, when you shop local or shop a small business online, instead of going to Amazon, instead of going to a big box retailer, that's a little act of resistance. And you can feel good about that. You can get that immediate payoff right there. Because I don't know about you, but anytime I order from a small business, like I grab like an Etsy shop gift for somebody, like there's always like a little sticker in there, or like a thank you, or like you can see like on the invoice list, like they've gone through and like marked things off by hand. Like there's a very human element to it. And for me, that feels really good. Hopefully it does for you too. Okay. So it's also making sure you're not overcommitting yourself in your activism. So don't feel like you have to go to every single event. Don't volunteer all of your time to an organization if you don't have that time. Make sure you're taking care of yourself physically and mentally and emotionally and spiritually. Okay. Make sure you're getting sleep. Make sure you are drinking water. Oh my gosh, most of us are dehydrated. Drink some water. You dehydrated goddess. Make sure that you are getting to your regular physicals or your exams. Okay. And beyond that, make sure you're hanging out with folks and it's not just for your activism. I adore my book coven. I adore this beautiful book club. It's local. It's in a woman-owned cocktail and mocktail bar. And we get together in person. We buy physical copies of the books whenever we can at our local witchy shop. And it's just about coming together and not feeling alone. Again, authoritarianism thrives on us feeling like we're alone. So get out, go invite a friend to have coffee if you haven't seen them in a while, or, get in the room with a book club or a knitting group or something. I'm actually seeing some of these ideas pop up where it's like everybody just gets together and like works on whatever craft they've been they've been working on, and they're just like in a space together. Get around people. Make sure you're balancing your activism with just genuine connection and social time. Fuel your spirituality, pull your cards out, meditate, walk in nature, pull your art supplies out if it's been a while. Like nurture your creativity, nurture your spirituality, nurture your heart. Okay. And read really great books. Have fun reading something that is very cozy and easy to read. And also, like, if you want to pick up a book that talks about the activism that you're interested in, and it can help support you, it can help show you the evidence that it's working. A lot of times our brains absolutely need the evidence that things work. Our neurobiology is such that it is programmed to spot faults spot error, spot threats in the environment. Okay. And I gotta say, like anything that feels off, automatically the brain just kind of like shoves it into the threat basket. And so what we have to do is we have to consciously and intentionally bring proof that things work into our day-to-day lives. This is one of the big reasons why I recommend to my clients that they keep an achievements journal. So any type of praise they receive, any type of great achievement they have made, oh my gosh, I put a post out and I got 2 new subscribers to my email list. That's an achievement to put in your journal. This is stuff that you actually can process pen to paper and you can go back and read later. The same is true with activism. What is working? 7 million people came out. That's what's working. Okay, that's a positive move forward. And please remember that you are not alone. This might be the biggest key in activism burnout, is to make sure that you remember you are not alone. You've got somebody right here in your ears talking about it with you, because I have been walking this same path and working in this same space as you. You are not alone. We are in this together. I met a woman who was in tears because she was so overwhelmed by the amount of people that turned out on Saturday. And she shook my hand and she said, "Thank you so much for being here." And honestly, like, Mike and I were on the safety team. There were 8 of us total. We split up into like 4 groups of 2, and we literally, the local PD just asked us to make sure people weren't like crossing the street where they shouldn't. And basically we were there to kind of help answer questions. And so we weren't doing a lot. We had stepped forward and said, "Hey, we're happy to kind of keep an eye on the situation, make sure people stay safe." But that's it, right? Like, we weren't expected to like stand between, angry people or break up a fight or anything like that. And yet she was just overwhelmed by the fact that there were people like me there. There were people that were on they had their walkers. I mean, there was like a 95-year-old woman there that she's like, "I'm doing this again." There were folks, in their 60s that were like, "Hey, I stood up at Kent State." There were folks in their 30s and 40s who are, like, the kids are home with grandma and grandpa and we're out here because we believe that we need to be here for our kids' future. There was a sweet 17-year-old kid that Mike talked to. Mike was passing out signs. We had a whole lot of signs to loan out for the event that have been donated over previous events, and were just made by local folks that said, "I can't be there, but here's a sign." It was really cool. And he was passing out signs and he met a 17-year-old kid who said that I was so afraid to come out. I don't feel comfortable holding a sign. It took me so much to come out. I was so afraid. To which, of course, Mike went into dad mode and was like, "Hey, I'm glad you're here. Don't worry about it. You're safe. And if you need anything, look for us." Sometimes just being in that space with other people, getting to know people of all ages. I mean, literally from 17 to 95 and everywhere in between, is such a balm for these days. So if you feel like you're isolated, if you're not sure what to do, I encourage you to reach out. Reach out to me. Send me an email at hello@meganwinkler.com, or send me a message on Instagram, wherever, YouTube. And I can help you maybe identify some groups in your area that you can get involved with. And they don't have to be activist groups. They can just be community groups. Because this is how we combat burnout. This is how we combat hopelessness and helplessness. And this is how we combat loneliness as well. Especially as we move into the holiday season. If you need anything, please let me know. Like I said, I'll help you find somebody local somewhere local you can hang out. Maybe a knitting circle, maybe a book club, maybe a dance class. Who knows? So that's what I have for you today, my friends. I am so grateful for your presence here. Thank you for listening to me as I ramble, stream of consciousness, inspired just where spirit and my spirit guides are taking me today. If you would like more support, come hang out on Patreon. You can join for free, but if you join for as little as $3 a month, you can get some fun resources each month to help you in your shadow working, your burnout prevention, your self-care, and so much more. And if you are on Substack, come find me. Just search for my name, Megan Winkler. I've got 2 Substacks there. You can join either one for free, or you can choose to be a paid member of Glow Up by Design or the Inner Altar Sanctuary. Thank you so, so much for being here. Please like, subscribe, share with your friends, and let me know if you have any questions. Let me know if you're looking for those connections in your area. And as always, stay hydrated, stay safe, stay joyful as much as you can, and of course, stay magical. I'll see you next week.